Skinner's operant conditioning, rewards and punishments. Operant conditioning is a behavioral theory that suggests that we can modify a behavior by adding a consequence, whether it be positive reinforcement, positive punishment, or negative punishment. Positive reinforcement involves adding a desirable consequence to increase the likelihood of a behavior recurring, while negative reinforcement involves removing an undesirable consequence to achieve the same result. On the other hand, positive punishment consists in adding an unpleasant consequence to decrease the likelihood of a behavior occurring in the future. In contrast, negative punishment involves removing a desirable consequence to achieve the same result. An example of operant conditioning in action could be training a dog to stop pooping on the carpet. We can either provide a treat every time the dog goes outside to reinforce the good behavior, or give a firm no and take away a privilege, such as playtime, to discourage the bad behavior. Behavioral psychologists use reinforcement and punishment to increase or decrease the likelihood of a particular behavior. Reinforcement can be either positive or negative. Positive reinforcement refers to adding something pleasant to increase the likelihood of behavior, such as giving a child a cookie for completing their homework. Negative reinforcement refers to removing something unpleasant to increase the likelihood of a behavior, such as taking off a dog's leash when it stops barking. Similarly, punishment can also be either positive or negative. Positive punishment refers to adding an unpleasant response to decrease a behavior, such as scolding a child for hitting their sibling. Negative punishment is removing something pleasant to decrease a behavior, such as taking away a favorite toy for misbehaving. To help visualize and understand these concepts, we can draw the four options in a table. Positive reinforcement and positive punishment are both about adding something, while negative reinforcement and negative punishment are both about removing something. Positive reinforcement and negative punishment are both used to increase behavior, while positive punishment and negative reinforcement are both used to decrease behavior. Operant conditioning is a type of learning where behavior is influenced by its consequences. When a particular behavior is followed by a desirable consequence, such as a reward, it is more likely to occur again in the future. Conversely, when a behavior is followed by an unpleasant consequence, such as punishment, it is less likely to occur again. If we stop any sort of manipulation, the conditioned behavior will eventually disappear again. This is known as extinction, which is the gradual weakening and eventual disappearance of a behavior as a result of it no longer being reinforced. The concept of operant conditioning was first studied by Edward L. Thorndike, who used the term law of effect to describe the principle that behaviors followed by positive consequences are more likely to be repeated, while behaviors followed by negative outcomes are less likely to be repeated. Later, B.F. Skinner further developed the theory and believed that organisms naturally engage in certain behaviors until they encounter a stimulus that creates conditioning, resulting in a change in behavior. To test his theory, Skinner designed an experiment where he placed a rat inside an operant conditioning chamber, which later became known as the Skinner box. Inside the box, there were various stimuli and a lever that, when pressed, would release food. The rat quickly learned to press the lever to receive the food reward. Skinner's work on operant conditioning has had a significant impact on psychology and has been applied in many fields, including education, behavior therapy, and animal training. Operant conditioning is a psychological process that happens through a three-term contingency, which is commonly known as the ABCs of behavior. The first term is A, which stands for antecedent. Antecedent refers to the stimulus that comes before the behavior. In an experiment, for example, a rat accidentally hits the lever that triggers the release of food. This is the antecedent. The second term is B, which stands for behavior. This term refers to the response that the individual makes to the antecedent. In the case of the rat, the behavior is pressing the lever repeatedly. The third term is C, which stands for consequence. This term refers to the outcome that follows the behavior. In the case of the rat, the consequence is the release of food. If the rat keeps pressing the lever, it will keep getting food. The strength and predictability of the response to the conditioning depend on the schedule of reinforcement. If the rat always gets food after pressing the lever, it will behave in a predictable way. However, if the food is released randomly, the rat will behave erratically, like an addict who is unsure when they will get their next hit. Operant conditioning is a process that involves the ABCs of behavior, which are antecedent, behavior, and consequence. The strength and predictability of the response depend on the schedule of reinforcement. B.F. Skinner, a renowned psychologist born in 1904, is best known for his contributions to the field of psychology through his influential theory of behaviorism. Skinner believed that behavior could only be analyzed if it is observable and measurable, and that anything happening within the mind was either an illusion or irrelevant to science. He argued that behavior is a result of environmental factors and that free will is an illusion, as behavior is either a reaction to the environment or completely random. Skinner's work had a significant influence on several fields, including behavioral therapy, animal training, and military drills. He was a pioneer in the use of operant conditioning, a technique that involves modifying behavior through reinforcement or punishment. Skinner's approach has been effectively applied in various settings, including clinical psychology, education, and social work. Despite his significant contributions, Skinner's theory of behaviorism has been criticized for its narrow focus on observable behavior and ignoring cognitive processes. Critics argue that it neglects the role of mental processes, such as thoughts, emotions, and perceptions, in shaping behavior. However, his work has been instrumental in shaping modern psychology, and his contributions continue to be studied and applied today. This classroom exercise is designed to teach positive reinforcement techniques. To begin, select one participant to leave the room. While they are gone, choose a task for them to complete, such as finding a specific book. Next, decide on a way to positively reinforce their actions, such as clapping your hands. Invite the participant back into the room and allow them to attempt the task without any instructions. As the participant makes progress towards completing the task, increase the volume and frequency of your applause. Conversely, if they begin to move away from the task, reduce or stop the applause altogether. Once the participant understands the task, ask them to explain it back to you. This will confirm their comprehension and reinforce their successful completion of the task.